So I watched Captain America Brave New World, or as I like to call it, Confused New World Disaster. And I call it that simply because this is a movie that didn't know what it wanted to be. I mean, it was nice to see Marvel attempt to tell a grounded story similar to that of Winter Soldier. Very similar. But that approach quickly falls apart the moment the film has to reconcile the gritty spy espionage thriller that it was trying to set with the more fantastical elements of the MCU, like giant celestial heads and Red Hulks. These two tones generally don't mix all that well, and in this instance results in a jarring and inconsistent mess at times. And let's be honest, no matter how much the director tries to deny it, it is painfully obvious that this movie suffered from extensive rewrites and reshoots. I mean, take a look at the movie's antagonists. Originally, Giancarlo Esposito's villain was billed as this criminal mastermind, this calculating, menacing figure who would push Sam Wilson's Captain America to his limits. When the reality is, he's barely in the movie. He gets what? A total of three, maybe four scenes? One of those is a 60-year-old Esposito going hand to hand with Anthony Mackie, and then the other one is him being basically an exposition dumping machine. And then that's it. He's gone. In fact, I think that's his last scene. Then we have Simon Stearns, who the movie hypes up as this unmatched genius intellectual who can create mind control devices and even predict people's moves weeks, months in advance. And yet he is constantly getting outmaneuvered and outsmarted at every turn by our heroes, looking visibly frustrated by them. And then at the end, he just kind of gives up and lets himself be arrested, despite the fact that this is a man who was locked away by Ross for over a decade. You would think he would be determined to stay free, but nope. He just surrenders, and the movie acts like this was his grand plan all along. It's nonsensical. Ultimately, these characters feel like afterthoughts. It's clear that any depth or nuance they might have had was left on the cutting room floor. This problem isn't just limited to our heroes. Our supporting cast of characters also face similar issues. Just look at Joaquin Torres. He is the quippy sidekick who has nothing new to learn because he's already great at everything. There is no room for growth because he doesn't need to grow. He just shows up, cracks some jokes, and somehow already knows how to be the perfect Falcon. Imagine, instead, he was an overconfident rookie, someone who thought was ready for the big leagues, only to fail at his first real test. That would have given Sam an actual mentoring role, making their dynamic matter, making that scene at the end in the hospital actually meaningful. But instead, he's just there to be Falcon and to be quippy. Oh, and then you have Ruth. It is so obvious that she was supposed to have a bigger role, but due to the current political climate and the fact that she was originally written as an Israeli superhero, her screen time is heavily reduced. Now she's little more than a glorified cameo, which further adds to the inconsistency of the script. Right, let's talk about Captain Falcon. I'll be honest, he wasn't really my first choice for the next Captain America, but that doesn't mean there isn't still a great story that can be told. A story about a man trying to live up to the legacy of Captain America while struggling to define what that means for himself. The problem is, Marvel kinda already did this in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but they also didn't really do anything with it. The show tried to pose some interesting questions about what it means for Sam to wear the shield, but it never truly answers them. That kind of leaves this movie in a bit of a pickle. It's essentially trying to repeat the same arc, but with even less depth. Sam is kind of struggling with the weight of being Captain America, but also he's not. He has doubts, but they never really manifest into any real conflict. The movie says he's defining his own version of Captain America, but it never actually shows you how. And by the end of the movie, Sam is basically the same as he was in the beginning. No real character growth, no hard choices, no arc. And it's frustrating because, like I said, there is potential here. Imagine if the film actually explored Sam grappling with his responsibilities, not just externally, but internally. Imagine if he had to make some really tough choices, face self doubt, and ultimately earn that mantle. Instead, we just get surface level speeches and a character who feels like he's just running in place at this point. And then we have the dialogue. Oh, this clunky exposition heavy dialogue. This movie does not trust the audience to understand anything unless it's been spoon fed through dialogue. And when the dialogue isn't painfully expository, it is just straight up copied from Civil War and Winter Soldier, except somehow made worse. It reeks of insecurity. Oh, and speaking of insecurity, my God, this movie is constantly reminding the audience that Sam Wilson is Captain America. We get it. But the movie feels so insecure about itself that it just keeps hammering the point home every 5 minutes. Like the movie isn't sure of itself, its message, or even its reason for existing. Look, this movie is riddled with flaws. And if I was to go through every issue, this video would end up being 6 hours long. But ultimately, what we have here is a bad movie. A movie, like I said previously, does not know what it wants to be. A movie that was cobbled together from other better films. And yet, there will be people out there that claim that I'm overreacting, that it's not that bad. And while, yes, Brave New World is a notch above some of Marvel's worst entries, but it's not by much. I'd recommend skipping this one if I was you.